My name is Grace Lynch, and joining me is Lucy Gerland. We're both with the Fairfax Area Agency on Aging. Lucy is the county's caregiver specialist, and she'll be telling us about county resources for caregivers, as well as the spring seminar series, which begins in April. So Lucy, let's begin with that term caregiver. I'm sure many of the people listening have heard the term, but what does it really mean?
Hi, Grace. Well, a caregiver is a person who helps somebody else do something that they are unable, either partially or completely, to do for themselves. So this could fall in the range of instrumental caregiving or emotional or informational. So for instrumental, if you're helping a person with a meal, that's kind of helping them get the things that they need to do done. Emotional caregiving might be, I call you to see how you're doing. And informational might be, I either collect information that another person needs, or I'm collecting information for me to help them further in the future. But when it becomes caregiving is when the person that you're doing things with or for is either partially or completely unable to do them for themselves, to do it for themselves. So if, for instance, you call your neighbor and you say, hey, I'm going to the store, do you need anything? Oh yes, I need a gallon of milk. And you pick up a gallon of milk for them, then you're just being a neighbor. But if your neighbor comes home next week and maybe has a broken leg, and then you take on the chore of shopping for them because they have a hard time getting out of the house or are unable to get out of the house, then in that situation, you're caregiving for them, either temporarily, and in many cases, it's long-term.
I think that's interesting because I think many of us think caregiving is something that the adult daughter does for an older mother or even the adult son, but they don't think also in terms of the community of people that are sometimes and often involved in the care of their neighbor, even on a temporary basis. So getting back to the family though, you've so often used the term caregiver journey. And you want to talk a little bit more about that. What does that entail? It's not, obviously it's not just kind of a one-shot thing. It can last a really long time.
It is a journey, and it's not something that a lot of times you say, well, yesterday I was a daughter and today I'm a caregiver, because as parents age, you're naturally involved in their life, right? As a child, you could be involved in their life. And so you're, let's say for my mother, I order her pills, right? And I bring them to her. And then she says, thank you. She sets up the pills. She takes them every day. Well, then one day I start to notice that when I bring them to her, she's starting to have a little more trouble figuring out which pills go on which day. So I start putting them into a Sunday through Saturday pill organizer. And then I start to realize, as I call her and I say, have you taken your pills? And every few days she says, oh no, I forgot. And then I realize I need to call her every day and tell her to take her pills. So I'm progressing into this journey of caregiving, and it can go farther and farther, right? So that's what I mean. And oftentimes, that's why it's a fluid line. In the case of an acute illness or an injury, yes, one day maybe you're a daughter, and then heaven forbid, but your loved one winds up in the hospital, and then you've turned into a caregiver. But in many cases, it's just a much more gradual progression into helping. And one of the problems is that people, it takes a long time before somebody says, I'm a caregiver. So when we say that we offer things for caregivers, we need people to, people have to identify, oh yes, I am a caregiver. I'm not just a daughter. Because I'm helping to prepare a meal, not just because I like my mother, but I'm helping my mother prepare her meal because she needs help.
She won't eat otherwise.
Yes,
Right.
so
Right.
that's where you start to, it's a need on the part of the other person.
So at a certain point, the back and forth in relationships and families, the give and take in relationships becomes a little bit more of you giving, and giving in a lot of different ways. It's one thing to organize the pills, it's another thing to make the advanced directives and healthcare decisions, and even the decisions to bring in paid help with home care workers and supervise them. So there's a lot of different aspects to this that kind of kick in at different times according to how this person is developing more and more needs.
Right.
And this is my understanding of what you're addressing, not only through the services, but also through the caregiver series, the seminar series.
Yes, because it's a very individual, and sometimes you really don't even know what you're going to need to know next. So the Fairfax Area Agency on Aging and Adult and Aging Services in Fairfax County, which the Area Agency on Aging is a part of, we have many things to assist people. And one of the first things that we have, and a first stop for a lot of people, is on our Fairfax County Services for Older Adults webpage. We have our information and assistance line, which is called the Aging, Disability, and Caregiver Resource Line. So when you call that phone number, that line is answered by trained social workers. They talk to you and get an idea of what you need. So that's very typically a first stop for people.
And that's at 703-324-7948, correct?
Right, and so also when you call them, we have a very unique program that a caregiver can get a 1-hour free consultation with a very trained and skilled social worker, because it is very individual. And maybe this isn't something that you do the first time you need to put pills in your mother's pill box, but it is really helpful to be prepared. And like I said, because things are so individual, you want to start there, start with a phone call. Now we also have lots of other resources for you. We do, and this is our, we have a caregiver webpage, okay? And on our webpage, you'll see seminars and webinars, which I'm going to talk more about. You'll see other things for support and respite. So there might be support groups, various options for respite. You'll also see connections, which is how can you connect with information. And one very great source of information that we have is our monthly newsletter. It's called the Caregivers Corner Online. So it comes in your email once a month, and it's easy to sign up for. You can sign up through our main webpage. There's instructions there. And since this is emailed, it's electronic, it's very timely. So what we put in here is timely information that is of interest and importance to caregivers. So it's curated so that it doesn't take a lot of time for the caregiver to muddle through, oh, this has nothing to do with.
It's not like doing an online search for information.
Right.
You've got it right there. Yeah.
And so on our Caregiver Corner Online, we have news to use, things that are in the news. We have events. So these are all local events, maybe webinars, maybe telephone call-ins, things that you can participate in. And as I said, it's very timely. And then we also have a section for caregiver resources. And on the left-hand side of our Caregivers Corner Online is a little button that you can press to see some yoga.
And I might add that Lucy is a master yoga instructor, and these are her videos that Channel 16 in Fairfax shot, and they're very good and very popular.
And they are geared to people
who are seated.
They are seated. There's also standing, and they're geared so that anybody can do them.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to be an older adult to do them. If you just want a little mellow yoga, that'll take you there.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that you are the chairperson of what's called the Caregiver Seminar Consortium. Can you tell us what that is? Obviously, they oversee the caregiver seminars, but tell us how that all began, who's on that consortium, and why? Why was that necessary?
Well, it was begun way before my time with the Area Agency on Aging, and I think it was a stroke of genius, actually, for Beth Hirschner, who used to be with the Area Agency on Aging, to pull in other county agencies and other partners like AARP, Insight Memory Care Center. We partner with the library system, the Fairfax County Libraries, and the health department. And so we get together and we plan a series of seminars and webinars twice a year, one spring and one is fall. The one coming up is spring 2017. And everybody has their input as on what topics should we cover that would be helpful for caregivers. So the diversity of thought is nice, and also the opportunities. So we work with AARP, and they offer a Prepare to Care seminar, and so we offer that through our series as well. They've done driving for us. So there are things that AARP does as part of our partnership. Insight Memory Care Center has monthly classes.
They're in Fairfax, correct?
And they are in Fairfax, and they do a lot of educational things as well as being an adult daycare center. So we are connected with them, and we promote their offerings, and their events are listed in our Caregivers Corner online, as well as we get lots of, the group gets lots of great feedback from that partnership on what is important to people, what would be helpful for people.
Okay.
Right. So that's a part of the group thing.
Okay, so tell us about the Spring Caregiver seminars and webinars. I understand we're now in webinar age.
Right.
So tell us, how many are there, where they're taking place, that kind of thing.
Okay, first I just want to tell you a little bit about, a few years ago I started offering webinars. And what those are, people just get online at the appointed time, which is typically a lunchtime, and you don't have to be any special place. Wherever a computer is that you have access to, you can attend that webinar. And so it's very convenient for people. I also, for the most part, record them, and then the recordings are available afterwards, so people can watch again if they were able to attend, or if they missed it, they can watch. And we have a nice little library being built up of our webinars. So that's what the reason we offer webinars is, so it's very convenient. You could be anywhere in the world and tune into
and so many caregivers are long-distance caregivers.
They could be long distance.
Most of them work, so it really is very convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the seminars we offer in the more traditional setting. You go to a specific location at a specific time, there's a speaker there, and you see a presentation. They can be very interactive. So we do offer those as well. And we take things all around Fairfax County, because Fairfax is a big county. So if we're offering something in Reston one time, the next time we might offer it in the southern part of the county.
Like Mount Vernon area.
Yeah, so that way people can attend, right? Or we might be in Falls Church and then Centerville. But that the traditional seminar structure does require you to be in a certain place at a certain time. And there are some topics that the traditional seminar structure is more appropriate for. For instance, one we have coming up on Monday, April 17th, and that is going to be at the City of Fairfax Regional Library. It's called Strategies for Difficult Conversations. So that is more of a one-on-one where Kathy Cole, who is very knowledgeable in this area, she used to be the director of ElderLink, she talks to you about how to approach conversations with people you know that, driving.
I was going to say, what are some of these difficult
Giving up the
conversations?
keys,
Driving,
right? Loss of independence. And then you get a chance to tell Kathy, like, this is more of my specific situation, she can help you. So that is something that we really keep personal, you know, and in a seminar format. Now for something like our first webinar, which is 5 things to consider about paying for long-term care, and that's coming up on April 5th, we can do that, you know, in a seminar format and interactive, but it's also just a very information-dense topic. So our speaker is able to get a lot of information across in the webinar and just make it available to a lot more people. One thing, you can see the webinars. I do record them. They're available afterwards. But if you're actually online at the time of the webinar, you can submit your questions while the speaker's online.
Right, and then afterwards, that webinar is posted on the caregiver webpage.
It's posted.
So it's there for anybody.
And back to the Caregivers Corner Online, we would put it in there as well.
Yeah.
So I really urge people to sign up for the Caregivers Corner Online because it's going to have the links to all of the I don't want to say trendy, the current information that you need.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about some of the seminars you're doing.
Okay,
and
so
where they are.
So I told you about the webinar, 5 questions, strategies for difficult conversations. Now, we, Insight Memory Care Center is offering something very unique, and you know, we're advertising it in our seminar series. It's called the Caregiver Boot Camp, and this is part of that caregiver journey. If you're at the beginning or even the middle of your caregiver journey, they have experts from on a range of topics: financial, legal, talking about dementia, medical issues, caregiver support, and you're going to get a lot of information and a continental breakfast and lunch if you go, and it's on a Saturday. It's Saturday, April 29th.
So it's all day.
It's an all-day
okay.
thing.
Right.
So it goes from 8:30 to 3 p.m. For that, you have to be registered. But for most of our seminars and webinars, for our seminars, you can drop in, but we do have registration for them. And by registering, it's helpful because I'll send you a reminder the day before, and it also helps us with planning, so I can just let the speaker know we have 15 or 30 people, so they can bring enough handouts and everything. So the Caregiver Boot Camp is great. We're also offering fall prevention, making homes safer for you and your loved one.
And most of the other seminars are just about an hour and a half? Is
Yes.
that what they are?
The seminars are an hour and a half.
The boot camp is all day, but all of
hour.
the other ones are...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for clarifying that. And we're offering a brand new emergency preparedness for caregivers. That's a webinar that's going to be done by the Fairfax County Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, great.
Okay. So then basics of memory loss, Alzheimer's and dementia will be a webinar that the Alzheimer's Association is going to be doing for us. We're offering also Care Plan for Life. Now, a lot of people have heard of advanced directives. This is a very thought-provoking way of looking at advanced directives from ethical, emotional, and family considerations. So this is going to be this is a seminar, and it is just a different or additional.
It is a different take, because I've heard
approach.
Kathy Muha, who will be doing this presentation, I've heard her speak. We did a podcast with her as well, and it's really a different and more comprehensive approach to advanced directives, and how this is essentially a family affair. It's really a good program.
And you can see that that is something that, as a caregiver, yes, you want that information, but also for yourself, right? So that can happen with a lot of our programs. It's not just about being a caregiver, it's information for yourself as well. We have the AARP program, Prepare to Care, coming up, and that's for people who are more at the beginning of their journey.
Yeah.
And it's called Prepare to Care, and so we're offering that as a seminar. And legal considerations for caregiving.
And you do that all the time, legal.
We do
Is that
legal
right?
pretty
That's
much
really
every
popular.
season.
Yeah.
We do a seminar and we do a webinar.
Yeah, so we're talking about wills, advanced
trusts,
directives.
advanced directives.
Yeah, getting all of this in order.
Right.
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, why should you? And then what Kathy's going to be talking about is just a different way of how do I plan the advanced directives? What are the ethical issues? What impact will this have on my family and stuff? Yeah. So that's some of, or maybe, those are the things that we're offering. The way to keep up with all of this is to go sign up for the Caregiver Corner online. It just, it'll have all the links and list the resources and stuff.
And they begin in April, and the last one is towards the end of May? Or?
Towards the end of May.
Okay, great.
May 17th.
So there's a number of them. They're all over the county. Several of them are webinars. The way to register right away is to go to www.fairfaxcounty.gov/older adults. And when you get to that page, you'll see in this little box called Hot Topics, the caregiver seminars are really clearly marked, and you just link into that, and you'll be able to sign up for one or more.
One or
these
all
seminars,
of them.
right?
Registration is very easy. Yes. And if you, for some reason, don't want to register online, we also have a telephone registration. Online is certainly easier, but alternatively, if you were telling somebody who's maybe not computer savvy and they just want to call in, they could call 703-324-5205 and register that way.
Okay, great. And did we mention that these are all free?
Oh, I don't think we mentioned that.
We usually mention that.
Right.
These are all free seminars. At any rate, when you go to the web page, the older adults page, you'll also find how to follow us other ways. There's you can subscribe to Caregiver Corner online. You can also subscribe to the Golden Gazette, which is a paper newspaper that you receive once a month at home, and that also is free. We have another series going on at the same time called Medicare 101, and you'll find that, I think it's listed right under the Caregiver Seminar, so that's really important. And again, just about anything you need to know about what the county is doing for older adults, caregivers, and people with disabilities is on that page and is at that telephone number. And do you want to repeat the telephone number?
Oh, the
324.
703-324-7948, TTY 711.
Right. So we look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much for being with us today.